Sorting and grouping of materials. Introduction. An object can be made by using a number of things. For example, a chair is made up of wood, iron or plastic, and a belt is made up of leather and steel. A measuring scale may be made up of wood or iron. These things are called materials. Steel, wood, plastic, glass, leather, etc. are examples of materials. Materials are used to make different kinds of things. One material can be used to make different kinds of things. For example, steel is used to make knives, utensils, cars, buildings, bridge, etc. Same object can be made from different kinds of materials. For example, a tumbler can be made of glass, plastic, thermocol, ceramic or paper. How materials are alike? There are large number of things around us. As we know, their properties are different from each other. However, there are two properties that are common to all these things. All objects occupy space. The amount of space occupied by any object is called its volume. Air, that we cannot see, also occupies space. All objects have mass. The amount of material an object consists of is known as its mass. It can be measured by using a balance. Matter. We have seen that all objects occupy space and have mass. All of them are made up of matter. Anything that occupies space and has mass is matter. It includes all substances of which the universe is made up of. The smallest particle of matter is the atom, but the smallest particle of water is not a water atom. This is because water is made up of two different kinds of atom. The smallest particle of water contains two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen, which form one molecule of water. Iron, gold, hydrogen and oxygen, etc., whose smallest particles are atoms, are called elements. Substances such as water, carbon dioxide, ammonia, etc., which are made up of two or more elements are called compounds. The smallest particle of a compound is a molecule. A molecule is made up of two or more similar or dissimilar atoms. Some common compounds and their elements are compounds, elements: water, hydrogen, oxygen; common salt, sodium, chlorine; sugar, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen; sand, silicon, oxygen; urea, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen; washing soda, sodium, carbon, oxygen. Properties of materials. If you think about the materials that are used to make useful objects, you will find that in making an object, the choice of material depends on the use of the object and the suitable qualities or properties of the material. Some important properties of materials are appearance. Paper looks different from cloth. Wood looks different from copper or aluminium. At the same time, there are some similarities in iron, copper, and aluminium that are not there in wood or paper. Materials can be classified on the basis of their appearance. Lustre. A metal spoon shines whereas wooden spoon does not shine so much. Silk cloth looks shiny whereas woolen cloth does not look shiny. We say that metal has more luster than wood. Silk has more luster than wool. In general, metals are more lustrous than non-metals. Texture. Different materials appear different when you touch them. They have different textures. For example, metals are hard and smooth, whereas wood is soft and rough. Soft materials can be compressed or scratched easily. Hard materials are difficult to compress. State. Materials are also classified on the basis of their states. Some materials exist in solid state, while some in liquid or gaseous state. Molecules in solid are packed very close to each other. The force of attraction between them is very strong. That is why they have fixed volume and shape. Examples of solid materials are brick, wood, iron piece, books, table, etc. On the other hand, liquids have lesser force of attraction between their molecules than in solids, so they do not have fixed shape. They occupy the shape of the vessel in which they are filled. Volume of liquids remains same. Example of liquids are water, milk, cold drinks, vegetable oil, blood, petrol, diesel, etc. The molecules of gases are free to move. The force of attraction between them is very less. That is why when a deodorant is used, its smell spreads throughout the room. Gases do not have fixed shape and volume. Solubility in water. Certain substances completely dissolve in water. They are called soluble substances, and this property is called solubility. Conversely, if a substance does not dissolve in water, it is called an insoluble substance. For example, sand, wheat, flour, lime, etc. The solubility of different materials in water is further discussed in detail. Solubility of solids. A large number of solids are insoluble in water. For example, metals, stones, wood, mud, etc. are insoluble in water. However, some solids such as sugar, common salt, and certain salts of metals are soluble in water. Solubility of liquids. Most of the liquids are insoluble in water. However, liquids such as alcohol, vinegar, lemon juice, etc. dissolve in water. The liquids soluble in water are called miscible liquids. The liquids insoluble in water are called immiscible liquids. Half fill a glass tumbler with water. Add a teaspoon of sugar to it and stir the water. What happens to the sugar? The sugar dissolves in water as it is soluble in water. Solubility of gases. Most of the gases are insoluble in water. For example, nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon monoxide, etc. are insoluble in water. However, some gases are soluble in water. Oxygen gas is slightly soluble in water. It is the dissolved oxygen in water which enables the fishes and other aquatic animals to breathe underwater. Carbon dioxide gas is also slightly soluble in water. It is the dissolved carbon dioxide gas in water which acts as a source of food for aquatic plants. The aquatic plants use the carbon dioxide in photosynthesis process and make food with the help of chlorophyll and sunlight. Thus, the materials can be also classified on the basis of their solubility in water. Some soluble substances are sugar, salt, etc. Density. If you drop an iron nail in water, it sinks, but a piece of wood floats in water. It is because the substances heavier than water sink into it, whereas the substances lighter than water float over it. Actually, there is a physical quantity that describes the mass of a substance per unit volume of the substances. The mass per unit volume of a substance is known as density. A substance like iron, aluminium, which is denser than water, will sink in water, while substance like wood, cotton, which is less dense than water, will float on water. Materials can also be classified on the basis of whether they float or sink in water. Transparency. You can see objects through some materials easily. The materials through which light can pass easily are called transparent materials. This physical property of materials is called transparency. Examples of transparent materials are glass, air, fresh water, etc. The materials through which light cannot pass and you cannot see the objects through them are called opaque materials. Examples of opaque materials are wood, steel, paper, concrete, etc. The materials through which light can pass partially are called translucent materials. You can partially see the objects through them. Examples of translucent materials are butter paper, thin plastic sheet, ground glass, frosted glass, etc. Thus, transparency is one of the important physical properties of materials. Electrical conductivity. We see that when we switch on a fan, it starts rotating. An electric bulb emits light when its switch is on. Actually, there is an electric connection between fan and switch, or electric bulb and switch through wires. The material of wire has ability to pass electric current through it. This property of materials to allow flow of electrons or electric current is called electrical conductivity. Such materials are called conductors. Example of electrical conductors are silver, copper, aluminium, iron, etc. The materials which do not allow the electrons or electric current to pass through them are called insulators. Examples of insulators are dry wood, paper, plastic, rubber, etc. Try to look at a lighted bulb through a sheet of paper. You will notice that the bulb is not visible as the paper is opaque in nature. Now pour 2 drops of kerosene oil on the sheet of paper. Again try to look at the bulb through the portion which has oil on it. You will notice that some light from the bulb is visible. It is because oiled paper is translucent in nature. Some materials allow the electrons to pass through them only when they are at high temperature. Those materials are called semiconductors. Examples of semiconductors are silicon, germanium, etc. Those materials which are good conductor of electricity are also a good conductor of heat. That's why the handle of utensils are made of plastics or covered with plastic. Electric wires are enclosed within plastic layer due to the same reason. Importance of classification of materials. Different materials are used for different purposes. For example, copper and aluminium are used in making electric wires, plastics, wood are used for insulation. Uranium and polonium are used in nuclear reactors. Petrol and diesel are used as a fuel in automobiles, etc. Thus, classifying the materials on the basis of properties they have makes the selection of material easy. Some benefits of classification of materials are: it makes the selection of material easy for a particular application. It is easy to replace the component without selecting the type of material. It gives us knowledge about characteristics of different materials around us.